Chapter 1864 Team Battle Ending. The attack of Takami Sanso Hikari has arrived. Endless evil spirits emerged from the three Rashomons and instantly surrounded Zhang Yi. But Zhang Yi's performance was extremely calm. Because the prerequisite for launching this attack, Gao Yuchan's divine power, has actually been exposed. This kind of attack must be a mental attack, or the so-called illusion. Otherwise, it would be impossible to break through the blockade of molecular movement in space by absolute zero. Therefore, everything you see before your eyes is an illusion. However, even if you know this illusion, you can't be careless. This kind of attack can directly wipe out a person's spiritual body, which is more difficult to deal with than damage to the physical body. The evil spirits attacked endlessly, but Zhang Yi did not take any action, because unconscious actions would not be effective against these evil spirits and might even hurt his own people by mistake. Even though they looked hideous and ferocious, Zhang Yi even felt that he smelled an extremely foul odor. The sea of blood and corpses was right in front of him, and he could see the bloody scene of hell. However, Zhang Yi's heart was not too shaken. He had witnessed mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and had personally created hell on earth, which in itself was the most horrifying sight in the world. He had seen squares full of enemies rushing towards him, with limbs flying everywhere as he swept them with his guns. He had ignited a fire, with flames and thick smoke reaching up to dozens of stories high, and countless people falling from the sky while burning. Therefore, he was almost accustomed to the so-called mountains of corpses and seas of blood. First, don't be afraid. Everything is an illusion. All things are always open. The defense of Tianhai Fortress cannot be broken through with their abilities. Second, the method of creating illusions is to use the five senses to activate them. What the eyes see, what the nose smells, what the ears hear, what the tongue tastes, and what the body touches are all the conditions for activation. So, why not just shut off all my senses? Zhang Yi thought of a solution. He just needed to open the dimensional door and then hide himself in the different dimensional space. That way he could be completely sealed off and the influence of the illusion on himself could be removed. Just when he opened the dimensional door and prepared to escape into the void, suddenly, a bloody hand stretched out from the door and grabbed his body. Zhang Yi felt like his body was about to be broken. After using a moment in the blue sky, his body was injured, and now the pain spread throughout his body. He looked back and found that his dimensional door had turned into a huge dark cave without him knowing when. From the extremely dark cave, a terrifying hand with blood flowing stretched out and tightly grasped his body. The pain was so real that Zhang even felt like he was about to be torn in half. However, he kept reminding himself in his heart, "It's fake. Everything is fake. They can't do this. In this world, there is no alien who can exert the power to destroy all my defenses in an instant. So, my defense cannot be broken. Everything in front of me is an illusion. Cough, cough, an illusion, hiss." Zhang Yi's body was tightened again, and his waist was almost squeezed into a slender waist that could be held in one hand.
Fuck.
This is fake. It's fake no matter what. Zhang Yi roared, gritted his teeth, and rushed forward with red eyes. He didn't believe what he saw, so the black hole was the door to his dimension, and the bloody hand was just an illusion. As long as he got into the cave, he could be isolated from everything. Only he can get in without any obstruction. However, the reality was very cruel. The hand tightly grasped his body, not allowing him to move at all. Zhang Yi looked down and felt the pain in his body getting worse. At the same time, he realized something in his heart. The most advanced illusion, which can completely deceive the mind. So my body already thinks it is restricted, so it can't move. Believe in myself, believe in my brain. The pressure on Zhang Yi's body seemed to be relieved a little, allowing him to move his body, but the speed of movement was extremely slow. He tried to communicate with the intelligent system and let the Qianlong armor carry his body into the other dimension door. However, at this time, except for his brain, all other actions can be false. He even felt that it was false for him to open his mouth and give orders. So now, the only thing that can keep him sane is his thinking ability. Zhang Yi suddenly thought of something. He looked at his right hand. His body was completely naked because all his defensive weapons had been stripped off by the evil spirits. Countless evil spirits had clung to his body and began to bite him bit by bit. The pain was so intense, as if countless ants were crawling on his body. Even though I know it's all fake, the pain is so real. God's refining. Zhang Yi shouted in his heart. Suddenly, a huge force dragged Zhang Yi and rushed forward. Nothing could stop this force. The next moment, Zhang Yi rushed into the dark cave. The flow of time was slowing down rapidly. After an unknown amount of time, the dark and terrifying hell around Zhang Yi disappeared. The surroundings were blank. Zhang Yi looked at his right hand. The divine power transformed into a vine, floating slowly on the right side of his body. He couldn't help but feel relieved. In order to facilitate the control of this weapon, Lu Yuran implanted a microcrystal in his brain, so that Zhang Yi only needs to control the Xinlian according to his own thoughts. Unexpectedly, this time, it helped. In the outside world, Yitujier and others watched as Rashomon appeared. Zhang Yi lay there in pain, twisting and struggling strangely. In the end, Zhang Yi escaped into a different space. Seeing this almost unsolvable defensive skill, the hearts of everyone present, which had been raised high, sank again. Gao Maikon's Su Rishan gritted his teeth angrily. Damn, you still can't kill him after doing this? He was very unwilling and said sinisterly, if it's not under this situation, if I am given a favorable condition, I can kill him in seconds. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying laser suddenly shot out from the Tianhai fortress, directly covering his body. A miserable voice rang out, and he didn't have time to prepare himself, and was blasted into pieces. Yang Xinxin sat in the control room, trying to contact Lu Rand and others. Hey, Ran, are you okay? Brian, are you still alive? After a long time without receiving a response, Yang Xinxin could only control the 8 main guns by herself and began to bombard the enemy indifferently. What a stupid guy. You actually named your illusion Rashomon. I know how to crack it right away, right? The world of illusion is fake, which is quite funny to those who are smart enough, because it is easy to find loopholes in it. Yang Xinxin was too smart, so she saw through everything created in the illusion at a glance, and naturally, she didn't have any fear. This ability of Takami Sanso Hikami can create all kinds of terror according to the inner heart of the victim. The fear in your heart is the real hell. Just like when Zhang Yi was hit, he was initially worried that his defense would be breached, so an evil spirit rushed out of Rashomon that was able to penetrate the defense layer. He was worried that after he opened the dimensional door, he would not be able to get rid of the illusion smoothly, so his door turned into a hell door, and a terrifying hand stretched out from it. Zhang Yi repeatedly stressed that these were all fake. If you really have 100% belief that those things are not true, you don't have to keep shouting to remind yourself. As for Yang Xinxin, she never believed it was true from the beginning. Boom! A violent vibration sounded, and the surrounding ground sank downwards again. Brian activated his ability, increasing the gravity around him a lot. Obviously, he has not yet recovered from the illusion. Fortunately, Yang Xinxin was in the Tianhai fortress, wearing an exoskeleton mecha and combat uniform. So she just calmly climbed up from the control equipment, ignoring the blood flowing from her facial features, silently adjusted the exoskeleton's ability to resist gravity, and then continued to bomb the outside. After a while, Brian's voice came from the communication channel. Oh, damn. What did I just see? It was so scary. As the caster died, it slowly regained consciousness. In the outside world at this time, with the two fighting at their peak, Morana was killed instantly by Zhang Yi. The rest of the people were seriously injured, with only one Skybreaker left. It was difficult for him to pose too much of a threat to the Tianhai fortress. The Tianhai fortress, which was as huge as a black monster, and the 8 Tianhai cannons began a ruthless bombardment. The muzzle roared and shot out thick high-energy rays, which could not even be described by the word line. and beams of light instantly pierced through the void and chased after the remnants of the defeated army. They had no choice but to continue fighting because they had no way out. Soon, Alexei, Olive, and others were killed on the spot. Ichigo vibrated his wings and continued to resist vigorously. Relying on the technology of mechanical civilization, he was able to maintain his little dignity. However, if we can't break the defense of Tianhai Fortress, everything will be in vain. This is simply cheating. Everyone was filled with hatred at this moment, finding it hard to accept this completely unequal battle. But some people have to admire Zhang Yi's intelligence. It is better to have one son than to have one leader. At the very beginning of the battle, Zhang Yi's team only sacrificed one member and completely gained control of the entire battle. Let the people from the other two teams completely let down their guard against them, and then wipe them all out in one fell swoop. This kind of calculation is simply horrifying. One after another, the aliens died in battle. Even Pekong, who was in the most perfect condition, could not withstand such an attack. After Zhang Yi regained consciousness, he began to use the city defense sniper to snipe him. Soon, they turned into streams of light and disappeared on the battlefield, and then came to the sky of the world. After the aliens appeared, they looked back at the disappeared space node without hesitation, and then left quickly regardless of the solemn look of the human coalition. We can't stay in this world for too long. Especially when they showed up, they found that there were horrifying visions in the sky, and they knew that they could not stay there for long. When Chang Wan was about to leave, he hesitated for a long time, but considering the warning given to him by the person before he came, he finally gritted his teeth, turned into a stream of light, and fled to the south at an astonishing speed. The human coalition did not dare to stop them, because the top aliens were either in the world behind the light gate or had just experienced a series of battles and were exhausted. Deng Shintong, Liang Yu, and Huahua were also waiting outside. I just don't know why. After the strangers from other countries appeared one after another, they looked at us with a bit of unkindness in their eyes. But according to the agreement, they could not start a war at this time, and could only hold on to the wasteland of the original site of Chernobyl with dissatisfaction, anger, doubt, and expectation in their eyes, waiting for the final outcome. Deng Shintong saw Morana and Alexei, thought about it, and went over to ask about the battle situation. You too, I am Erling Shen from Huaxi country. May I ask what is going on inside now? Have you seen the chaos? The next moment, Deng Shintong suddenly felt a bone-chilling chill completely enveloping him, and his body seemed unable to move. This is not the world behind the light gate. The strict hierarchy among the extraordinary people is highlighted. Morana glanced at him coldly, his almost white ice-blue eyes filled with murderous intent. Deng Shintong immediately realized that something unpleasant must have happened between her and Zhang Yi behind the light gate. But soon, Morana retracted his exuding aura. Although she died ugly after having her neck twisted by Zhang Yi, she was a person who accepted defeat willingly. Even though she was tricked by Zhang Yi once, Zhang Yi eventually killed her with his strong strength. She always respected the strong, but she was too lazy to pay attention to Deng Shintong, a small character who was only at the level of the white chariot. It was Alexei who put his hand on Deng Shintong's shoulder with a simple and honest smile on his face. Just relax, you're doing well there. And if nothing happens, you will be the ultimate winners. Deng Shintong's eyes lit up. Although he knew that Zhang Yi was very powerful, it was still surprising that he could break through the siege among so many powerful people. As expected of Zhang, Deng Shintong then puffed out his chest and added, "We are really awesome." But soon, this pride was suppressed by the murderous gaze of the aliens from his country. Deng Shintong touched his nose in dissatisfaction when he thought of Zhang Yi's daily working habits. Is a result-oriented man. No matter what actions he takes, it is just to achieve his goals in the simplest and fastest way. Therefore, in the eyes of ordinary people, it seems that some people are unscrupulous. Alexei smiled and comforted him. Don't worry, you are just jealous. He told Deng Shintong what happened after the light gate, And he also understood that under that kind of trial, killing all the aliens in his team was not a choice. Therefore, they did not hate Zhang Yi for playing tricks on them at all. Instead, they truly believed that Zhang Yi was very powerful. Deng Shintong went back and told others the news. Everyone's face was filled with joy. Fatty Su clenched his fists excitedly. Maybe. I also have a chance to become Ypsilon. Liang Yu was very clear about Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin's plan, but she was also relieved that things went so smoothly. Her sacrifice was not in vain, but ambushes are normal on the battlefield. After listening to Fatty Su's words, many people in the crowd showed thoughtful expressions. If Zhang Yi could really obtain some sacrificial spirits from that god-level civilization, wouldn't that mean that everyone around him would have a chance to be promoted to the Ypsilon level? The hierarchy between extraordinary people is very strict. The probability of someone below them defeating someone above them is not zero, but it is close to zero. Especially at the level of Ypsilon, there is a strict distinction between top powerhouses and elite miscellaneous soldiers. As long as you can break through this level of life, you can achieve a leap at the genetic level. You fat guy, even if you break through to Ypsilon, I'm afraid it won't be of any use. Huahua lay on Uncle S' shoulder and said lazily to Fatty Su, "It's good now. When you eat shaved ice at home, you can help make ice cubes. This is your greatest contribution to the team." Fatty Su immediately looked aggrieved. "I'm working hard, okay?" Among the crowd, Xiao Honglian, Lu Xiaohai, Xing Tian, Gao Tianwu, and other members of the Fueying force also showed eager expressions. Some of us have experienced the power of the Ypsilon realm in the world behind the light gate, so we also hope to reach that level. But God is never fair. Just like some people are born as nobles, while others are born into slums. The genetic mutation after the catastrophe, like reincarnation, made our luck a little worse. And now, the only hope they can place is the magical spirit of sacrifice and the source of God. Inside the trial field, Zhang Yi's team had already secured victory. Except for Yichigul, who was fighting desperately with the super armor on his body, all the other members were killed in the battle. The 4 horsemen who had been watching this battle also believed that the outcome was certain. A smug smile appeared on Ling's face. She crossed her arms, looked at the other 3 knights with a bit of pride and said, "How is it? The person I saw is really strong." The crusader looked down at her, his voice low and cold. 0. The output terminal in human form makes your expression more and more similar to this low-level intelligent creature. Ling snorted, put her hands on her hips, and said with a smile, "There's nothing wrong with this. It's actually quite interesting to experience the senses of a physical creature occasionally." She pondered for a moment, then suddenly had an idea and raised a finger. "It's just like playing a simulation game." Just as the 2 knights were chatting, the knight of the crown of thorns next to them suddenly spoke. "Wait a minute, something is wrong." The 2 people's attention was immediately drawn over. They looked at the projection in front of them and found that something unusual had happened on the battlefield. Zhang Yi and his men have completely mastered the situation on the battlefield. It is only a matter of time before Yichigul is defeated. Zhang Yi was a little worried. After this guy got out with his strength, he would probably start a ruthless killing. I just hope they can hold it off for a while. Or, if you have cleared the level, you can ask the God-level wise manager and the 4 knights to help you restrain yourself. The armor on Ichigul's body was twisted. After enduring a nuclear explosion and multiple rounds of high-energy bombardment, the material comparable to nuclear metal could not maintain its original appearance. Give the final blow. Zhang Yi's city defense sniper began to charge and aimed at Yichigul. Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin also controlled the Tianhai cannon, ready to strike with all their strength to completely get rid of this opponent. Ryan's super heavy pressure field was also given to Yichigul. No matter how you look at it, the outcome has been determined. However, at this moment, Yichigul, under the horrible pressure, stepped on the solid and charred surface of the explosion crater, raised his head, and looked at Zhang Yi. The 2 people's eyes collided with each other from a long distance, almost as if they were communicating with each other through consciousness. They can all feel that the other person is looking at them. Yichigel suddenly smiled miserably. I never thought that although your civilization's technological level is extremely low, its speed of evolution is so fast. Yes, I have forgotten it after all. We were once extremely weak, so what right do we have to look down on you, who were chosen by the only existence? Weakness and ignorance are not obstacles to survival, but arrogance is. Laughed at himself, and at this time Zhang Yi, Lu Karen and others had already launched their attack and locked onto S position. Suddenly, he raised his head, and his eyes became fierce. I admit that I underestimated you, but you should also not forget that in the eyes of the Songyuan people, the technologies you are so proud of are as backward as primitive people. There is no fallacy in S words. If Lu Karen had not obtained the advanced technology, materials, and energy cores in the mechanical life forms and mechanical demons, he would not have been able to quickly improve the comprehensive combat capabilities of the Mecha and Tianhai Fortress. During the entire campaign in Fremons, our gains were unimaginable. At the moment when the terrifying energy rays submerged Ichigo, a dazzling white light suddenly burst out from his chest. Zhang Yi and others, who originally thought that the outcome was decided, suddenly widened their eyes. At this moment, we also felt the crisis of death. White light burst out from the battlefield and spread in all directions in an instant, and all the scenes disappeared. But less than 2 seconds later, a huge white ball of light appeared in the entire area within a radius of hundreds of kilometers. It devours everything. If humans can develop a weapon like the death of love that is beyond their time, then what will happen given the Songyuan tribe's level of technology? Ichigo gave the answer. That is a more powerful and incredible weapon. Just as Lu Karen said, the managers have very few restrictions on aliens, but it seems that it is to encourage the development of civilization, and there are very few restrictions on weapons. She, Zhang Yi, and Yichigel also benefited from this.